lift your voice on top of the roof, that the world may hear about the imminent danger which I'm about to visit the world. Paul Obolo, thank you for the sacrifices so far made and leaving the place of comfort in America to come and champion this cause. Yes. And to your team, your vice chairman and the rest of them, I want to appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow Nigerians, it is important that we understand what we're talking about. We're talking about an imminent danger that's about to visit humanity. Scientifically proven that a day will come when this Earth may not exist in its form due to global warming, occasioned by constant pollution of the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, which has trapped the heat, and that's what's called global warming. Unfortunately, Africa has to contribute in cleaning the mess that they were never part of. This whole matter of climate change started 51 years ago, precisely 1950, during the Industrial Revolution, when countries like America, Russia, Germany, China, France were at the top of Industrial Revolution. They were doing so to take care of their citizens and to grow their country and better their economy and create jobs. Little do we know that what they were doing there was at the expense of the rest of the world. And the pollution which took place in America took place in China. Africa, Nigeria has to bear the consequences, unfortunately. So now it makes a whole lot of sense to me that the world is a global village. Not a global village in technology, not a global village in benefits or economy, but a global village in disaster of the climate change. Climate change is not too far different from COVID-19. The difference being that climate change is predictable, while COVID-19 was unpredictable. But the disaster of climate change may be far worse than COVID-19. The only way we can dramatize the urgency of now on the issue of climate change is to remind all of us of what has happened with COVID-19 and how suddenly one morning the whole world was turned confused, with no place to hide and our streets deserted, looking for a livelihood. Everything shut down. This time around, it might not be a virus. It might be the water level might rise and swallow everybody. It might be the sun might burn up everywhere like you have in California. It might be the flood in South Sudan, dissertation in the northern part of Nigeria. All this attributed to climate change, for which Africa was not party to. As painful as it might be, that while Africa is still battling with poverty, on how to survive, to eat, and how to finally wake up, to make use of their natural resources, to develop their own part of the world. It is then now that the climate clock is clicking very fast, telling us we have 6 years left to take an action on this or face the consequences world over. So Africa is highly disadvantaged. But I see a little window of opportunity. Having been so blessed by God, but we still have a part of the world where we have greens also growing, where we still have our weather slightly intact. We can make the best use of it. And this is for this reason that I'm joining my hand with my brother Ambassador Rico in partnership with Zoetic Organization and Rochas Foundation Green Initiative to come together to champion this cause for Africa. So really would want to partner with you and to let Paul be the driver for this wonderful partnership. So for Nigerians, I'm holding this as a clarion call for us to understand that as much as we worry about the insurgency of today, we should be more concerned about the devastation of climate change in the near future. We have what it takes to meet up with the rest of the world using the climate change challenge. What we may call a problem might as well become an opportunity to grow the new African economy. We have everything to go green. China now, in the next couple of years, there will be no more gas cars or diesel cars or fuel cars. Everything will be electric cars. Because the world has to do that. If we don't stop pollution, then one day there might be no air to live in. So why do we have to wait for Americans and the Chinese and Germans and Russia to send us the used engines again to pollute our society? We have to start fast. No longer to use our nation as a dumping ground, but to go green as quickly as possible. This is what has given rise to the Rochas Foundation Green Initiative, to take the lead, to create advocacy and awaken the consciousness of our people, to think green, to think on how we can power all our technologies using the free sun of nature. It is doable and we can do it. With people like Ambassador Ringo, I think we can see light at the back end of the tunnel. But Ringo, Africa is not finished, and Africa will never finish. We've been addressed as the poverty capital of the world. We've been addressed as people with senseless leaders, corrupt leaders. There's no negative connotation for which has not been used to qualify Africa. But we accept responsibility. But I want to assure you that there will be a new Africa. An Africa that will lead the world in climate change, and we can do that. Probably we have not been pushed the world yet, but now we realize that we've been pushed the world. And that we have realized that no one can help us unless we stand up to help ourselves. So we're no longer going to be preached about climate change. We have to start the African-grown climate change programs. And one of such is the Rochas Foundation Green Initiative. We have a lot of young men talented who can build electric cars, who can bring electric water pump and build solar power. We need just to encourage them. But in this climate change arrangement, we don't want sponsorship. We don't want handsome. We want partnership. Because our pain as a nation, as a continent, is that we're the landlord that has become the tenant. Unfortunately, we're the source without the resources. Everything that has developed China comes from Africa. Everything that developed America came from Africa. Everything that Germany used in their development came from Africa. And after they have used our resources to develop the mess again, we have to bear the consequences. What a double jeopardy on a continent. We have everything. We have gas here. We have cocoa here. But for my son to eat chocolate, I have to grow my cocoa. I can't produce my cocoa. I can't manufacture it. Then I send it to China or America to now manufacture my cocoa and return them back to me in small, tiny pieces at a very expensive price as chocolate. After the 10 years of waiting, and I buy it at expensive price also. That's what I mean. So Africa has been double cheated. And I think it's the time our leaders must rise to the occasion. That's a problem. So we ought to be the landlord, but we become landlord that become tenant. But very soon, we're going to recover our position as the landlord of the world. And we're going to demonstrate this from the Rochas Foundation Green Initiative. One of the programs we're going to have is I want to launch the first ever international conference of Rochas Foundation Green Initiative in partnership with Zoetic.com. We're going to do that, and call on talents now to come and see how we can catch up with this whole climatic change which the world is experiencing. Again, I want to use the opportunity to call on all Nigerians and African leaders to think green. This is not a mere talk, and it's not a talk as most people will think, because anytime they talk about climate change, what Nigerians think is that let us talk about what to eat first before we talk about what to do. Anyone who thinks that way is rather might be considered an inconsiderate human being who does not think about the future of our generations yet unborn. We must act now, and we must do it now to save the lives of numerous Nigerians and Africans yet unborn. If nothing is done in the next 50 years, we may not have a world, our Africa, we can be proud of. So, it's a wake-up call to all of us, and thank God that we have you here, and this clock. I'll be glad to receive it at Glasgow.
Yes.
And I want to let the rest of Africa understand how fast this clock is ticking. And if there's anything we can do to slow it down, we have to do that. And the only way we can do that is to stop this emission and to stop this carbon dioxide pollution and free the atmosphere that our global warming may reduce. I know it's 1.5 degrees centigrade. We're in trouble. I pray that God in His infinite mercy may allow us to get to 2.2 degrees centigrade and manage our situation. But anything outside 2.2 degrees centigrade, we might be asking too much from God. Because nature has, man has fought nature, and nature is fighting back. Man has disobeyed nature, and nature is fighting back. But let's not forget that nations that have benefited from this climate change disaster have a responsibility to support those who never benefited from that disaster.
Absolutely.
That's right. Absolutely.
China produced virtually what we consume. America, at 4% of world manufacturing power is consumed in America. Yet, Africa is zero. And now our climate has been messed up by what is happening in China and the pollution. And no one seems to have helped us. Even our gas here is being flared. And no one has helped us to capture our gas to help produce cooking gas. So this is African story. It's not the best of story. And at the end of it all, our leaders are insulted for not doing